Hey there, fellow numismatists and treasure hunters. Welcome back to the channel. You know, sometimes the most extraordinary things hide in the most ordinary places. That pocket change jingling in your purse or sitting in your coin jar. It might contain something worth hundreds, even thousands, of dollars. Today, we're going deep on 5 specific quarters from the late 70s and 80s that have been quietly gaining value while most people toss them into vending machines without a second glance. Each of these coins has a fascinating backstory and unique attributes that make them highly sought after by serious collectors. So empty those piggy banks and check those date stamps, because after watching this video, you'll never look at a quarter the same way again. Let's start with the 1978 Washington quarter, a coin that perfectly demonstrates how small variations can lead to massive value differences. The standard 1978 quarter you might find in circulation is worth exactly 25 cents. But there's a specific variety that can be worth upwards of $5,000 in uncirculated condition, all because of a fascinating error that occurred during production. In 1978, the U.S. Mint was operating at full capacity, producing billions of coins. During this high-volume production, something unusual happened at the San Francisco facility. A batch of quarter dies were improperly prepared, creating what we now call the 1978 S-proof quarter with doubled die obverse error. This doubling effect is most visible in the lettering of Liberty and the date, where you can see a distinct secondary impression slightly offset from the main design. What makes this error so valuable is that it occurred on proof coins, the specially made, mirror finish versions produced specifically for collectors. The San Francisco Mint's proof quarters were supposed to be perfect examples of the coiner's art, so when these errors slipped through quality control, they created an instant rarity. To identify if you have this valuable variety, you'll need a magnifying glass or loupe. Look closely at Washington's profile, particularly the word Liberty and the date. If you see distinct doubling, almost like a shadow or echo of the lettering, you might have this valuable error. The doubling is most prominent on the L and I in Liberty and on the 78 in the date. Price-wise, these coins have seen remarkable appreciation. In the early 1990s, they might have fetched a few $100s. Today, a pristine example in PR 67 condition, the grading scale used by professional coin grading services, can command $5,000 to $7,000 at auction. Even in lower grades, they're worth several $1,000s. One particularly well-preserved specimen sold at a heritage auction in 2021 for an astounding $8,750. What's particularly fascinating about this coin is how the error occurred. During the die-making process, the hub, which imparts the design onto the die, struck the die multiple times. Between strikes, there was slight movement or rotation, creating the doubled impression. This type of error is relatively rare in modern minting, which makes these coins especially desirable. The value differs dramatically based on condition. A circulated example might bring $1,500 to $2,500, while proof examples with deep cameo contrast, sharp contrast between the frosted design and mirror-like fields, can fetch double that amount. Color also plays a role. Coins with attractive, even toning often command premiums over those with no toning or unattractive spotting. What makes the story of this coin particularly compelling is that these errors weren't discovered immediately. For years, these quarters circulated or sat in proof sets before someone noticed the doubling. By then, many had been damaged or lost. Estimates suggest fewer than 5,000 examples exist across all conditions, making this one of the most significant modern U.S. coin rarities. There's also an interesting collecting strategy around this coin. Some collectors focus on acquiring the entire set of 1978 quarters, the regular strike from Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, plus the normal proof and this doubled die-proof variety. Completing this set has become something of a milestone achievement for serious Washington quarter collectors. Perhaps the most remarkable thing about the 1978 S double die quarter is that it represents a juncture where human error, mechanical processes, and chance created something of lasting value. It's a reminder that imperfections sometimes create treasures, a philosophy that extends well beyond numismatics. So next time you're sorting through change or looking through an old collection, pay special attention to any 1978 quarters with the S mint mark. You might just have a small fortune hiding in plain sight. Moving on to our second featured coin, the 1988 Washington quarter. Now, at first glance, this might seem like an everyday coin. After all, the U.S. Mint produced over 1.3 billion quarters in 1988. But hidden among these common coins is a variety that serious collectors will pay thousands to own, the 1988 P with dramatically doubled dies on the reverse. The story of this coin begins with changes happening at the Philadelphia Mint in the late 1980s. The Mint was transitioning between different die preparation methods, and during this period, some dies were improperly aligned during the hubbing process. The result? A spectacular doubled die error on the reverse, tail side, of some 1988 Philadelphia quarters. What makes this coin particularly special is the location and prominence of the doubling. If you have one of these quarters, grab a magnifying glass and look at the eagle's right wing, on your left as you view the coin. You'll see pronounced doubling in the feather details. The lettering in United States of America and quarter dollar also shows distinctive separation, especially visible in the letters U and N of United. This isn't your run-of-the-mill minor doubling that numismatists debate over, it's dramatic and unmistakable when you know what to look for. Yet remarkably, this variety flew under the radar for years. While error coin enthusiasts knew about it by the early 1990s, it didn't gain mainstream collecting attention until the 2000s, when more sophisticated coin grading and attribution became common. Market values for this coin have climbed steadily over the past decade. An uncirculated MS-65 example can fetch $3,000 to $4,500, while even circulated examples in XF45 condition can sell for $800 to $1,200. One particularly choice specimen in MS-67 condition sold at a specialized error coin auction in 2023 for a record $6,325. What's fascinating about the 1988 doubled die quarter is how condition-sensitive its value remains. The doubling is most dramatic on high-grade specimens where the details remain crisp. On heavily worn coins, the doubling can be difficult to detect, significantly reducing value. This creates an interesting situation where a coin worth thousands in mint state might be worth only $100 to $200 with moderate wear. There's also an interesting collecting angle here. The 1988 P double die pairs naturally with the more famous 1983 P double die quarter, creating a compelling two-coin set that documents this transitional period in U.S. mint production techniques. One collector I spoke with recently told me he searched through nearly 10,000 1988 quarters before finding a single example of this variety, a testament to its genuine rarity despite coming from a high mintage year. And unlike many modern rarities, these weren't discovered and hoarded when new, they actually circulated for years before being recognized as valuable. Perhaps what makes this coin most intriguing is that it represents one of the last major double die varieties from the pre-digital era of coin production. Modern computerized minting has largely eliminated such dramatic errors, making the 1988 quarter a final chapter in a certain type of minting history. Now let's talk about our fourth featured coin, the 1980 Washington quarter, with a surprising international twist that can make it worth thousands of dollars. The year 1980 saw high mintages of quarters from all three U.S. mint facilities, but this particular variety isn't about mint marks or doubled dies. Instead, it involves something utterly unexpected: Canadian planchets. During this period, the U.S. Mint occasionally contracted with the Royal Canadian Mint to provide planchet stock when domestic suppliers couldn't meet demand. In a fascinating error, a small number of 1,980 quarters were struck on planchets made of Canadian composition, nickel with just a thin outer layer of copper nickel, rather than the standard U.S. copper-nickel clad composition. These coins are extremely difficult to identify by appearance alone. The weight difference is subtle, about 5.8 grams for the Canadian composition coins versus 5.67 grams for standard US quarters. The edge view provides the best clue. Instead of the distinctive three-layer, sandwich appearance of US-clad coins, these show just a thin outer layer of copper-nickel over a nickel core. What makes these coins particularly valuable is their extreme rarity combined with their historical significance. They document an otherwise little-known chapter in U.S. mint history, the outsourcing of planchet production to Canada during a period of high coin demand. Fewer than 30 examples have been authenticated across all mint marks and conditions. Value-wise, these Canadian composition 1980 quarters command serious premiums. An MS-63 example sold at a heritage auction in 2019 for $16,800, while even circulated examples can fetch $5,000 to $8,000 when properly authenticated. The Philadelphia Mint versions seem to be slightly more common than Denver Mint examples. There's a fascinating discovery story associated with these coins. The variety was first identified in the early 1990s when a collector noticed weight discrepancies while using a digital scale to search for pre-1965 silver coins that might have remained in circulation. After weighing thousands of quarters, he identified several 1980 dated coins that were slightly heavier than standard clad quarters but lighter than silver quarters. Metallurgical testing eventually revealed their unique composition. What's particularly interesting about these coins from a collecting perspective is that they're modern rarities that could theoretically still be found in circulation. While the odds are extremely slim, there's nothing preventing more examples from being discovered in everyday pocket change or bank rolls. The value variation based on condition is relatively modest for these coins, unlike many numismatic rarities. Since their value derives primarily from their unusual composition rather than visual appearance, even worn examples command strong prices once authenticated. However, uncirculated specimens still command substantial premiums due to their general scarcity. For authentication purposes, these coins require sophisticated testing beyond what most collectors can perform at home. Professional grading services use X-ray fluorescence spectrometry to confirm the metallic composition. This makes them somewhat challenging to collect, as potential examples require professional authentication before their value can be established. As we transition to our third featured coin, we step back to 1968, a pivotal year in American coinage. The 1968 Washington quarter represents a fascinating crossroads in U.S. mint history and contains a valuable variety that many collectors overlook. The year 1968 marked the first full year of copper-nickel-clad quarter production for general circulation, following the Coinage Act of 1965 that removed silver from everyday coins due to rising precious metal prices. But the San Francisco Mint was also producing special silver-proof quarters for collectors. This dual production system created the perfect conditions for one of the most valuable error coins of the modern era, the 1968 S-proof quarter struck on a copper-nickel planchet. This coin shouldn't exist. Proof quarters from San Francisco in 1968 were supposed to be struck exclusively on 90% silver planchets. But somehow, a few copper-nickel-clad planchets intended for circulation coins made their way into the proof press. The result was a small number of 1968 S-proof quarters with the mirror-like finish and sharp strikes of proof coins, but with the copper-nickel composition of circulation strikes. Identifying this rare wrong planchet error requires careful examination. The coin will have the distinctive S mint mark and the mirror-like proof finish, but instead of the bright silver appearance, it will have the copper-nickel sandwich appearance visible on the edge. A genuine example will also weigh about 5.67 grams instead of the 6.25 grams of a silver-proof quarter. Value-wise, these coins are among the most desirable of modern U.S. errors. A certified example in PR 65 condition can fetch $15,000 to $25,000 at auction. Only about 24 examples are known to exist, making this one of the rarest modern U.S. coin varieties. Even regular 1968 quarters have certain value points to be aware of. The 1968 S-proof quarter in silver, the normal version, can be worth $15 to $20 in PR 65 condition, while especially pristine examples with deep cameo contrast can sell for $100 to $200. Circulation strikes from 1968 generally trade close to their metal value unless they're in superb mint state condition. There's a fantastic story about the discovery of one of these wrong planchet errors. A collector purchased a regular 1968 S-proof set for about $10 at a garage sale in the mid-1980s. Something looked off about the quarter, so he had it professionally authenticated. It turned out to be one of these rare copper-nickel proof errors, which he later sold for over $15,000, not a bad return on investment. What makes this error particularly significant from a historical perspective is that it documents a transitional period in American coinage. These wrong planchet errors physically embody the tension between the traditional silver coinage America was leaving behind and the new clad coinage era it was entering. They're tangible artifacts of a pivotal moment in U.S. monetary history. Collectors particularly value these coins because they represent a perfect storm of circumstances that's unlikely to happen again. Today's quality control systems at the U.S. Mint would almost certainly catch such a significant compositional error before coins could leave the facility. Our final featured coin, the 1982 Washington Quarter, might be the most surprising entry on our list. Mintage figures from 1982 were substantial, over 500 million quarters produced. Yet specific varieties from this year have become some of the most coveted modern U.S. coins among serious collectors. The 1982 No Mint Mark Strong Strike Quarter stands as one of the most valuable modern U.S. coin varieties. During this period, all circulation Washington quarters were supposed to bear either a P. Philadelphia or D. Denver mint mark. But in 1982, something extraordinary happened. A small number of Philadelphia quarters were struck from dies where the mint mark was completely absent. This wasn't just a weak strike where the mint mark is faint, these coins were struck from dies that never received a mint mark at all. This error occurred during a transitional period in die preparation methods at the Philadelphia Mint. Previously, mint marks had been punched into each working die individually. In 1982, the Mint began incorporating mint marks directly into the master hub, which would then transfer to all working dies automatically. During this transition, some working dies were accidentally put into production without receiving a mint mark. To identify this valuable variety, look at the right side of Washington's portrait where the mint mark should appear. On the rare no mint mark variety, this area is completely smooth with no trace of a P. Don't confuse these with pre-1980 Philadelphia quarters, which intentionally had no mint mark. The 1982 is distinguished by its modern design details. The value of these coins is remarkable. A certified MS-65 example can bring $10,000 to $15,000 at auction. Even heavily circulated examples in VF-20 condition can sell for $1,500 to $2,500. One particularly choice specimen in MS-67 condition sold for $21,600 in a 2018 Heritage auction, not bad for a coin with a face value of 25 cents. What makes the 1982 No Mint Mark Quarter particularly valuable is how few examples have been discovered. Current estimates suggest fewer than 100 confirmed specimens exist across all conditions, making this much rarer than most modern U.S. coin varieties. Many likely remain undiscovered in old collections or circulation. There's another 1982 quarter variety worth mentioning, the 1982 D with dramatically doubled dies on the obverse. This variety shows pronounced doubling on the word Liberty and the date. While not as valuable as the no mint mark variety, these can still bring $200 to $500 in uncirculated condition. The condition plays a significant role in determining value for these coins. Since they're collected primarily for their error status rather than as part of date sets, premium examples with superior eye appeal, strike quality, and minimal marks can command substantial premiums over typical specimens. What I find most compelling about the 1982 no-mint mark quarter is how it represents a perfect storm of circumstances, a transitional period in production methods, a breakdown in quality control, and the fact that the coins entered circulation before the error was discovered. It's a reminder that even in modern, industrialized minting, human oversight and procedural changes can create numismatic treasures. Conclusion: the hunt continues. And there you have it, 5 Washington quarters from the late 60s through the early 80s that could be worth thousands of dollars. What makes these coins so fascinating isn't just their value, but the stories they tell about American minting history, the evolution of production processes, and how small variations can create enormous collector interest. The beauty of these modern rarities is that they're still out there, potentially in your change jar, coin collection, or even in that roll of quarters you just got from the bank. Unlike ancient coins or early American coinage that's largely disappeared into collections, these modern treasures are still circulating, waiting to be discovered by the observant collector. So keep your eyes open, check your change, and maybe invest in a good magnifying glass and digital scale. The next great coin discovery could be sitting in your pocket right now. Until next time, happy hunting, and remember, in the world of numismatics, knowledge is quite literally money. See you in the next video.